Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you on a Wednesday. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. If you can do me a favor, hit the like button if you're watching on Facebook, tell a friend, or share the feed to your Facebook page. That would be best. A lot we're going to cover on the show. We'll lead the program with the message from the Richmond Health District passed along back-to-back days. He's influenced the show from Trevor Daniel. I think it's an intriguing topic to start the program with. I'll put it to a side for now, but I want to get you thinking. Today, the Health District in Richmond issued a call to action via Twitter. Wait for the headline, Judah. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. We'll put it up on screen in a matter of moments, please. Not now. But the Health District said, in Richmond, if you get vaccinated in the city of Richmond, you still should wear a mask. You should still socially distance. And if you come across someone that has COVID, you should quarantine immediately. I'm going to ask you this question before teasing the other items in the rundown that we're going to cover on the show. Here's the question for the Richmond Health District. If you're giving out vaccinations to folks in Richmond, and they still have to wear a mask, they still have to stay 6 feet apart from people, and they have to quarantine if they come across someone who has COVID-19, how can we possibly open the economy again in Richmond? Everyone's going to get a vaccine. Still, the health district is saying socially distance, wear a mask, and quarantine if you come across somebody that has COVID-19. How can a restaurant open again? A music venue open again? A hospitality, wedding, or event space open again under those circumstances? I'm gonna ask you that question. There's a tremendous amount of market volatility on Wall Street. You're seeing chat forums, and one in particular, it's called Wall Street Bets. It's a forum on Reddit. A chat forum, a message board forum, for lack of a better phrase. This particular forum has 2 million subscribers. 2 million subscribers. And these 2 million followers of this Reddit forum, Wall Street Bets, are working in cohesion and concert. They're working together to influence the market. And they're targeting hedge funds that are betting against companies, essentially betting on companies to fail. So there are hedge funds across America that have short positions. These positions are essentially bets on businesses and corporations failing and their stocks falling. When they do, the hedge funds that have the shorts make money. Wall Street Bets, the Reddit forum, said, we're sick and tired of this piranhaistic, capitalistic behavior. These are piranhas, these men in suits, betting on companies to fail and them running away with suitcases full of money that they can buy expensive beach houses or ski chateaus or $300,000 cars. So a bunch of blue-collar folks in this Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets worked in concert together, 2 million people, 2 million retail investors, going after stocks like GameStop. That's the one you're in, right, Judah?
I am.
Is it It's called GameStop, right?
Yeah.
Judah Wickhauer is a brilliant man. This man has made a killing on this position. How many times over, Judah? You've 7x'd your position, right?
I just sold.
Judah has nearly 7x'd his position. And why this stock is going through the roof and why we have so much volatility on Wall Street right now is in part because of this forum on Reddit, Wall Street Bets, using 2 million retail buyers to pretty much battle Wall Street and hedge funds, and the 2 million retail batters on Wall Street Bets are winning. We'll talk about that on the show. Belk files for bankruptcy. The mayor of Richmond has COVID. The city of Richmond is facing nearly a $40 million shortfall for fiscal year 2021-2022. $40 freaking million. What does a $40 million shortfall mean to you? Well, if Richmond's experiencing a shortfall like this, you damn well better believe a place like Charlottesville, where much of its revenue is based on tourism, hospitality, restaurants, retail, music, and folks from outside the area spending their hard-earned dollars inside the area, you can expect we'll have a shortfall here as well. What's that mean for us in the city of Charlottesville, for us in Central Virginia? Well, if you're running a nonprofit, the disposable income the city had a couple of years ago, hell, 14 months ago, to allocate to your endeavors as a charitable organization, those just aren't, they're not there anymore. Just not there anymore. You could see the shrinkage of nonprofits at the same frequency or greater frequency as the permanent shuttering of restaurants from Virginia to California. Nonprofits rely on the municipality in a lot of ways to feed them, and the municipality just does not have any food in the cupboard for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's that topic on the program. We'll hear from Alex Erpy again. Alex Erpy, a leader in the Hispanic and Latino community here in Charlottesville, Central Virginia, very, very to the point, explained why the Hispanic and Latino community is getting hit, hammered by COVID-19. I'm very interested for you to hear what he has to say on this program. We'll also hear from Joe Thomas and Crystal Napier. We'll show you what $250,000 can get you in the city of Charlottesville. We're very excited to partner with the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust for a 12-hour telethon from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. right here on the I Love CVille network, where in a 12-hour period, we will attempt to crowdsource $150,000, $50 from 3,000 people in Central Virginia to purchase a piece of land, dirt, on 10th Street in the city of Charlottesville. If we can do this as a community, as a family, as a Charlottesville tight-knit community that I know we can do, if we can do this, Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust can build 5 affordable houses on 10th Street. More on that on the show. I think we need to start the program with what's happening now on Wall Street. Folks, one of the things throughout 2020 that made the pandemic, in some ways tolerable for much of the American population was the investment portfolios and the fact that they were going up for much of 2020. Okay? And Joe, we'll reach out to you in about 13 minutes here. I got a Skype call coming in from Joe Thomas. We'll call you in about 13 minutes here, Joe. January, the market's been extremely volatile. Reddit is influencing not only GameStop, AMC, Tanger factory outlets, and a handful of other positions, a handful of other stocks. You see tremendous volatility and huge swings every day in 2021 on Wall Street. And it's different, at least so far, and it's extremely early, it's different from the upward trajectory we saw in much of 2020. Okay? Wild swings are happening in the month of January. Across all of them, all the indices. And it's shocking to me. I guess it shouldn't be shocking because in a lot of ways we're doing this. You got 2 million people from all over the world in one message board forum on Reddit. And they have a macro plan of attack that they've put on this message board, Wall Street Bets. And these folks, a large portion of these 2 million subscribers, these 2 million followers, are following lockstep and barrel this plan of attack. And the plan is beating hedge funds at what they do best. It's crazy what social media and digital marketing, when utilized in different ways, the influence it can have on the world. Just take what we're doing here with 6 or 7 cameras, a bunch of social media platforms, and showcasing the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. Heck, consider what we're going to try to do on the 12th of February from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. for the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, when we're trying to raise money to actually buy dirt and land in the city to build affordable housing units. You see Reddit and social and digital media and message board forums going toe-to-toe with billion-dollar hedge funds in winning. You see a small, scrappy team on Market Street in the city of Charlottesville have a vision of putting positive content for the community by showcasing influencers and agents of positive change, and then you see a public-private partnership on the near horizon that's trying to raise money for affordable housing in the city of Charlottesville, Virginia. That is social and digital used in various different ways, impactful and powerful. Now, another topic I want to cover on today's program is also from social media and from the Richmond Health District. Trevor Daniel, I'm going to acknowledge you again. Back-to-back days, he's put something on my radar worth talking about. Can you get the tweet on screen, Judah? And let me know when that's on screen. The Richmond Health District, folks, sends out a tweet, and this tweet, my friends, 3 hours ago, says this, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim. After you get the COVID-19 vaccine, it is very important to wear your mask still, stay socially distanced still, and if necessary, quarantine if you come in contact with people who have the disease. Learn more about COVID-19 by visiting our website. And then they have this very pretty infographic with a lot of information when you visit the website. I'm just going to ask this question, and it's a rhetorical question. I don't have the answer. Maybe you have the answer. If the Richmond Health District is saying, when you get the vaccine, when you get both shots, if you get both shots, the one and then wait 21 days to get the second to complete the process and get maximum efficacy and protection here. It's saying you still have to wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from people, and quarantine if you come across someone who has COVID. Rhetorical question here. How can you, if you're a restaurant, run your business if patrons have to stand 6 feet apart even after vaccination? How can you have a bar if you have to stand 6 feet apart even after vaccination? How about a vineyard, brewery, wedding venue, or music venue? If ticket buyers, people that purchase tickets to see a concert at the Southern, at the Jefferson, at the Pavilion, or maybe something happened at Mike and Cecilia at Rapture, and they have to stay 6 feet apart while watching the live music, how many ticket goers can come into the venue? Probably not very many. The venues and the models are predicated on shoulder to shoulder and packing as many people in there as possible. Richmond's Health District is saying, once you get the vaccination, you still have to socially distance, wear a mask, and quarantine if you come across somebody that has COVID-19. How do we reopen the economy if that's the criteria? Rhetorical questions. I do not have the answer. I'm just bringing this to your attention, and the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because of a viewer of the show, Trevor Daniel, brought this to my attention. And I think it's a valid point. How do we reopen the economy if the expectation after we've been vaccinated is you still have to socially distance and quarantine if you come across somebody that has COVID? I'm just asking you a rhetorical question. Next topic, Joe Thomas in 7 minutes. Belk files for bankruptcy. We all saw this coming. This impacts Belk and Charlottesville, Virginia, in Fashion Square Mall. I call it Fashion Scare Mall. Belk it's a North Carolina-based department store chain. Belk is a 133-year-old chain. Belk was previously a family business, but the family sold the chain for $3 billion with a B in 2015 to Sycamore Partners. Belk has 20,000 employees and nearly 300 stores in 16 southeastern states, including a store here in Charlottesville, Virginia. You know, my wife from Long Island and New York had never heard of Belk until she had come down here. Very much a southeastern chain. Fashion Scare Mall is a freaking ghost town. Who's been there recently? Who's experienced it recently? I mean, what is left? You're going to go take a couple of quarters and get some bouncy balls? Is the Sbarro's still in there? Can I get a giant slice of cheese pizza? Maybe some samples of the Chick-fil-A or the Chinese food from the food court? I guess I can buy some Ray-Ban aviators from Sunglass Hut. Is that still there? Do they have the playground in the center court where the little tykes could slide down the slide on the rubberized surfaced area? Belk is peacing out of Charlottesville. The mayor of Richmond has COVID. Levar Stoney tested positive for COVID-19. A lot of Richmond news today. Levar Stoney has COVID-19. He was informed of the positive test this morning. He's had a roller coaster of a tenure in the mayor's office in Richmond. And now the man finds out he has COVID-19. All the best to the mayor of Richmond. And speaking of Richmond, two other items out of the Richmond Notebook before we hear from Alex Erpy on his take on why the Hispanic and Latino community is being hammered by COVID-19. Folks, the city of Richmond is facing a nearly $40 million shortfall. Get the headline up, J-Dubs from the Times-Dispatch. $37.5 million to be in fact for fiscal year 2021-2022. The expectation is municipalities across the country will face shortfalls, including the affluent and white-collared professional Charlottesville, Virginia. What's that going to mean for the community? It means nonprofits aren't going to have the money they once had. That's safe to say. Nonprofits won't have the money they once had. City employees, you got to wonder what's going to happen from a compensation standpoint or lack thereof. Perhaps from a raise standpoint or lack thereof. We got to get creative. We got to get creative. And the most creative ways, whether you and I want to hear this or not, there are a handful of ways we can make up this deficit. The way I do not want to see us make up the deficit is creating more of a tax burden on existing taxpayers. The last thing we need is real estate taxes to go up. The last thing we need is an increase in meals tax. The last thing we need is an increase in tax that's going to impact us as Charlottesvillians and take money out of our pockets where we otherwise would have spent in the local economy. We have to find incremental ways to drive tax revenue, new sources of tax income. That's called smart business, prudent business. That's called running local government with a smaller, medium-sized business mindset, as opposed to a mindset that has never been in the trenches. And the most clear and tangible incremental ways to driving new tax revenue sources, whether you want to hear it or not, is gambling and cannabis. It's gambling and cannabis. I have yet to see from Charlottesville any kind of acknowledgement of those two potential incremental tax sources, gambling and cannabis. I've yet to see any kind of plan of attack, call to action strategy, any kind of this is how we're going to pursue the deficit game plan. This is how we're going to make up the deficit plan of attack. I've yet to see it. I would like to see it. Would you like to see it? It better not be taxing our real estate even more than we're paying now. One more item out of the Richmond Notebook. Have the Alex Erpy sizzle reel ready to go. Richmond, Virginia appears to be a safe haven for out-of-town major companies, major corporations, filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Joe Thomas, I'm going to go to you in 30 seconds. So we'll save Alex Erpy for after Joe Thomas, J-Dubs. Richmond, Virginia, its federal courthouse, okay, is very welcoming to out-of-town corporations filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Listen to the ones that have. Guitar Center, J. Crew, Pier 1 Imports, the parent company of Ann Taylor, Lane Bryant, Lord & Taylor, all have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Richmond over the last 12 months. Another big corporation filed Chapter 11 in Richmond, this one from the radio industry, Alpha Media. Alpha Media owns 200 radio stations nationwide. It has a couple of stations in Virginia, and by a couple of, I mean four, in Fredericksburg. And because of that, they filed in Richmond. You may ask, why is Richmond's federal courthouse a safe haven or a welcoming red carpet type of environment for the Pier 1s, the J. Crews, the Lane Bryants, the Ann Taylors, the Lord & Taylors to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy in? Let's dig a little deeper. When these businesses file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they're using Richmond legal counsel. And the Richmond attorneys are freaking chomping at the bit to represent these out-of-town corporations in Richmond Federal Local Courthouse in bankruptcy. And these attorneys are racking up $295, $395, $495, $595, $695, $795 an hour bills while managing these bankruptcy proceedings. And that, my friend, is how a portion of the supply chain works at the Richmond Federal Courthouse, and why it may be a safe haven for major corporations to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Jude, I'm reaching out to Joe Thomas via Skype right now. I believe we have Joe on the line. Joe Thomas, my friend, first, good afternoon. And second, many friends on Facebook are saying, and we're hoping we can we got the camera turned on. Many friends on Facebook are saying Joe Thomas making a run for governor 2021. Congratulations, you're entering the race, Joe Thomas. This is amazing.
If I'm getting any votes, I'm probably taking them away from somebody more qualified for the job. But there is a Charlottesville conservative running for governor.
Which one? Are we talking Pete Snyder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pete Snyder's a good dude. He's come on this show, that small business fund. I'm curious. I was going to actually ask you about this here. What did you make of his language when he made the announcement for governor? He certainly used the word conservative, but it was very clear from a brand strategy. He was trying to distance himself away from the Republican moniker.
I don't know if he was doing that as much right now because it's still the derby for the nomination that I think it's going to be a lot of, who amongst the Republicans is the one that's going to win the nomination. So I think at that point, you're presumptive that you're going to be the Republican nominee. I don't think he needs to beat that in. I think he needs to get delegates, and quite honestly, the Republican Party of Virginia needs to figure out how they're going to be holding their convention. That's what they've got to do.
I mean, and frankly, do you think they have a chance? Does the Republican Party have a chance here in this race?
Sure, absolutely. There are so many things. If Terry McAuliffe is the nominee, and certainly if you went dollar for dollar, he was going to be the nominee because he's collected, about $40 billion in the last 15 minutes. I mean, the guy, the only time he makes more money in fundraising is when he's got the Lincoln bedroom. Moreover than that, there are plenty of places you can connect problems to Terry McAuliffe. I think Terry McAuliffe is a beatable candidate, and we just have to find the person that is going to be able to take it to him. But first and foremost, I just want to make sure that you have your time here. Obviously, this is the olive branch where Jerry Miller, puts the olive branch on the table over the things you said about Monticello Media on a Facebook. And I really appreciate you reaching out to do that.
I would love to talk about that. We can absolutely talk about that. But before we talk about that, can we throw this to you? November 3rd, 2021, I have said on this show many times, November 3rd, 2021, that this is the most important election in the city of Charlottesville in its history. We have two
you've got
spots
two-
up for grabs. We have a council coming out of COVID.
Ooh.
We got the West Main Streetscape project. We got school reconfiguration. We got this parking garage over here on Market Street and everything that's coming from that. And we have a massive budget deficit. And frankly, I'm going to cut to the chase. We have a Mayor Walker who's running for re-election, and I have a lot of proof of performance and a lot of empirical data that her in the on the dais has potentially caused more friction than actual productivity in her time on the dais.
Well, I wouldn't want to insert myself. There are so many learned physics professors at UVA. I wouldn't want to insert myself, but I believe friction requires two bodies to be rubbing together. So, one person cannot create friction. But that being said, there is a long history, and a lot is made out of the, quote, dysfunction, unquote, in between city council and city staff. But this is not new. I've had city councilors since 2007 when I arrived here confide that there were moments where city staff would treat city council like a necessary evil. So maybe this is city council pushing back and city staff doesn't like it. Somewhere we have to meet in the middle. I talked to Mayor Walker about it several weeks ago, and I said, is this the case to be made for an elected executive? Or is this where we get representative districts in the city of Charlottesville so people feel like they have a voice? But at the end of the day, I mean, you still have out-of-control poverty. Ridge Schuyler just put out Orange Dot Project Report 4.0, 21% of the population in the area living underneath $36,000 a year. Jobs are scarce. Then you do a COVID shutdown. Then we call Gary Allen tone deaf for his minimum wage song. But then they come out with an announcement saying, oh, look, we've made it easier for you to pay your business taxes online. Well, hold it. You're still collecting business taxes after you told most of us to shut down? How does that work? I mean, there are a million substantive problems that aren't necessarily personality driven in the city of Charlottesville, but you got the two city council candidates. That's 4-year terms there. Then you've got school board candidates. You've got Juan Diego Wade, who's going to make a huge run, and there's a guy who's ingrained himself into so many weaves of the fabric in Charlottesville. And what does he bring? Who knows who else might be out there? You mentioned Mayor Walker running for re-election on there. So there's a lot of things happening. Plus then who replaces Juan on the school board? Who steps up for that? What does school look like? Are we going to go back to school? And then you say November 3rd. Well, what about the 45 days prior to November 3rd? Because if it's going to be anything like it was last year, we're talking about fractured voting, mail-in, drop-off, no witness, absentee. It's going to be 2020 all over again. Only a local version.
Dude, that's a good point right there. That is a good point. Is the election even settled on November 3rd for these two spots that are up for grabs? Very good point by Joe Thomas. Kim Sprouse Ryan says Joe Thomas is the absolute best. David Varell is watching in the Outer Banks. Vanessa Parkhill. Grace Stevenson says, I listen to this man every morning on my drive to work. Thank you for having him on the show, Jerry. Joe, another position, city manager. These two folks, whoever gets in these two spots, are going to team with Payne, Snook, and McGill to hire a $250,000 CEO of the city of Charlottesville.
Well, I was told the current one has a 2-year window to get kind of the ducks in a row, so I'm not going to turn tail on him. Actually, he took a step down in power when you realize all the places the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission is involved in. I mean, I think city manager is a step down for somebody who's been running that for 7 years. Organizationally, and I talked to him, I said, is it more important to fill the empty positions or to make sure Chief Brackney, who's obviously shopping her resume around, isn't out the door? I mean, she didn't get the job in Dallas, but that doesn't mean that it's not the only place. I mean, so do you address that first, or do you address all the other positions, all the assistant city manager positions, the attorney positions? It looks like the only position in city management that hasn't been vacated is Chris Engel at Economic Development.
I
Thank
mean,
God.
it is just massive, massive, massive attrition. So how do you think it's going to shake out? I'm a betting man here. I know you like to put a wager down from time to time. I like Juan Diego Wade a hell of a lot here, don't you?
I've always been a Juan Diego Wade fan. His work with the United Way, obviously the chairman of the board now of the United Way of Greater Charlottesville. But I always thought that he was a level-headed listener. I was crestfallenly disappointed, quite honestly, when I put my name in for the temporary seat on school board that needed to be filled, and Jennifer McKeever was the only vote I got. I thought Juan would at least give me a vote to get me to the next round, but I appreciate it, and Jennifer always has my back. But Juan is a good, level-headed listener, as much as a pushing in an agenda. Now, you talked about deficits. Here's where all those years where we would have $1.5 million, $1.25 million left over at the end of the year. Where's all that gone? If we're saying we're having this massive deficit, we're still looking at not just the unemployment, but this shows the fragility of a service sector economy that's based on serving food to UVA professors during their off time. We need better answers. I mean, you look at the amazing space that Willow Tree Apps just was named one of the top companies to work for in the nation. Willow Tree's facility out there by Woolen Mills is awesome. The tech center, we've really got to double down on what the tech industry is bringing to UVA, because those are jobs. I mentioned Ridge Schuyler, but him and Frank Squilacci and the folks at Network to Work at Piedmont Virginia Community College. I mean, this is red meat for them. Plus the logistics industry. We don't even know half, Jerry, of what the economy is going to look like post-COVID. How much stuff is going to stay? Are we going to go back to movie theaters? Are we going to go back to restaurants? Or do we like ordering out? I mean, that's all questions that I don't have a crystal
all
ball
great
to
topics.
answer.
This guy's a pro, man. This guy is an absolute pro. Have you talked cannabis and gambling on your show? Cannabis and gambling have been hot topics here. Incremental revenue for any municipality, potentially, Joe.
I have a weird feeling about cannabis, and it has to do with making an entire genus of plant illegal. And there goes, it's very nuanced, and people like to take this as a 1 or a 0 issue. But we already have laws against driving under the influence. That should cover cannabis. A lot of those things, a lot of those rules are already there. Now, there's a very real point that the cannabis of my youth, and yes, I inhaled. My problem was exhaling. But the cannabis of my youth is a lot different than the cannabis of today that is been genetically modified, is, from what I understand, anywhere between 5 and 10 times stronger and much more of a gateway where you reach a plateau and then you start saying, ooh, what else can I get? I mean, and that's the danger in all of this. We've unhinged ourselves from our moral plateau where you can say, hey, a glass of wine after work is fine, but a bottle of wine might be a little excessive. I have dear friends of mine who treat a marijuana cigarette the same way I treat a glass of wine. It's just, what I do to unwind when I get home while I'm chatting with my wife. But we got to make sure there's education, there's morality, there's understanding, all of that. Now, gambling, on the other hand, I found it very interesting that the first licensees for gambling through the Virginia lottery was FanDuel. Because I've held for a long time, I think you and I have talked about this, that these fantasy football leagues and fantasy baseball leagues, that's gambling. And yet, and you watch NFL players talking about, oh, I got Drew Brees on my fantasy team. Well, what if you have a chance to sack Drew Brees? Are you going to pull up because you want him to get another completion to make you some scratch? Pete Rose is banned from the Baseball Hall of Fame for betting on his team and betting on the other team, maybe. And we're letting these NFL players bet technically on other players in the league, in their fantasy league. So, again, it is preying on our get rich quick. The Virginia lottery has existed for so long. This is exactly the same debate when lotteries got started back in the 70s.
So you don't see, Joe, you don't
that it's
see
just
gambling and cannabis as potential solutions here. You're more arm's length than I am, huh?
I don't think we ran out of solutions otherwise. And I think that's an easy panacea to go run to. Oh, look at the $30 million. I think Ralph Northam floated the number $30 million for cannabis income. Well, Colorado found very quickly that their income was not that high. Their treatment costs are much higher. I remember when they told us that the cigarette taxes were going to pay for health care for everyone. How'd that work?
Joe Thomas, I like it. I like it. Bringing a different side of the coin here, my friend. Anything else we need to cover? I got Crystal Napier coming up. We do need to talk Monticello Media here, but before we talk Monticello Media, I want to talk anything that's on your brain. Anything we should be talking about.
Well, no. And again, when you talk about drugs and gambling and all these things, Albemarle County is going to have a budget that's pushing $500 million. So there's tax revenue already coming in. It's not a taxing problem; it's a spending problem. And whether it's the new guy in the race, Youngkin, or Pete Snyder, or Cox, or Chase, they've got to make the case. And beyond that, you've got all the not General Assembly seats, all the House of Delegates seats are up for election. Half of the Albemarle Board of Supervisors is up for election. So, however we decide it, and the issue with how the GOP picks their nominee is going to be a big thing, because what are we doing? Are we doing a convention? They picked a convention, then Ralph Northam says you can't have a convention. Do we do what you and I are doing and tap into Zoom platforms and have little local conventions going on while the Zoom platform handles the delegates that are proposing the votes? I said that to Rich Anderson this morning. I said, why don't we do something like that where you have regional little conventions where you can be more easily socially distanced and have Zoom just with all the representatives? And he thought that might actually be a decent way to handle it. But there's so many things that we're not handling yet, and there's too many people who are forced to stay at home. We're having too many issues with mental health. Kids are losing a year of school. There are bigger issues than weed and the sports book there. But to be fair, and I said this on Facebook, and I was kind of tweaking you when you reached out to me to be on the show. I said, gee, I guess this is him taking back what he said about Monticello Media. I mean, you took a crack at what do they call it? Legacy media.
Let me set the stage here, and then you fill in. The post was about our live talk shows that we do here. And I think I said something along the lines of, we have 14 at the time hours of live talk show content, more than any other network in town. It's up to 20 hours now a week now. And Pam, NASCAR Pam, who is a big part of my show. I love Pam Garrison. Pam Garrison's amazing. Oh, yeah. She's one of the most talented broadcasters.
She'll stick her head in the door in here in a second. She'll pop in here and whack you.
I hope she does. She knows I love her. NASCAR Pam is fantastic. When I started on Sports Radio 1400 WKAV, NASCAR Pam was a regular feature of the show. She got on the Facebook feed and said, look, it does not have to be a battle or comparison. And then my response is, every media outlet's trying to be number one and the best in the market, and that's all it was. It was just genuine like that. But to Joe's point, I guess I could have said, we're going to be the best versions of ourselves as opposed to being the best in the market. I could have done it like that.
Well, and there's also local news every hour. There's a lot of things you say. All right, so maybe Rush Limbaugh's on WCHV, or I've got Virginia Tech basketball on tonight, which may or may not be considered local by your standards. But I would never slag what you've done. You've created something out of nothing, and that is not in any way. And I just feel like you and I have to understand, and I think the example we need to set is I've always believed you don't pump yourself up by dragging somebody else down. And your post was great about all the things you had accomplished. You didn't need to slag NBC 29 or CVille 107.5, 1260 in the process, because the part of it, there's an old expression in radio, if it doesn't add to it, it takes away from it. And the part about pimping what you were doing was perfect. It was great, and I was proud of you. I mean, I've known you since you worked here. It was the app at the end saying, and more than these other guys. It wasn't necessary, was all I was saying. And I felt like it wasn't needed to be said. And it wasn't just because it included Monticello Media in it. I've always, believe me, pimp yourself is great, because I do believe you've done amazing things with the I Love CVille show and the brand and everything you've done there. You don't need to drag other people down to do it. And you never have. And it kind of came
fair.
out of left field.
All right. I appreciate that. I appreciate that perspective. I think what it comes down to is just kind of like the competitive nature of things.
Sure, we all are.
But to your point, a lot of friends in the building you're in right now, and undoubtedly the teeth were cut in the seats around your office. And frankly, this dude was my boss here, and I say all the time on this show, this dude and Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe were the two best bosses I ever had. I say that all the time on the show, Joe. I really not even when you're on do I say that. I say it all the time. All right. Well, how are you doing? Everything's good with you?
Well, we're doing great. I mean, there were brief moments of I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose, but I've realized the fire hose is just going to keep coming. It's just bringing it on, making sure that we cover everything that needs to be covered. Be of service to our listeners. Which at the end of the day you wouldn't be able to still be doing what you're doing if you weren't serving the people watching and tuning in there. And that's they need us more than ever right now because of COVID. I've got friends who are doing music shows on Facebook in the evening to talk to other folks who are feeling like really isolated in their artists and things like that. I said, take the platform while it's there. We don't know how long this is going to be available, YouTube, whatever it may be. Take the opportunities to be connected, because the more we're disconnected, the worse it's going to get.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for coming on the show. You have a good one.
Thank you, Jerry.
Take care. Joe Thomas, guys. Joe Thomas, one of the best of the best. Joe Thomas in the morning. Crystal Napier around the corner. Vanessa Parkhill says this. Absolutely, Joe. There is absolutely a government spending problem. Vanessa Parkhill right there. Jesse Rutherford, welcome to the broadcast. Crystal Napier, we are reaching out to you. Alex Erpy coming up. We'll let you know who's on the show tomorrow. We'll talk to a developer tomorrow. We'll talk to an entrepreneur tomorrow. We have Crystal, an entrepreneur, a businesswoman on the show right here. How are you, Crystal?
Doing pretty good, Jerry. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm the owner of Renee's Boutique. Online at reneesboutiquellc.com. Always makes the show more beautiful. Crystal Napier on Wednesdays. Okay, open-ended first. Before we go to Dr. Webb, anything that's on your mind? Anywhere you want to go?
Sure. Our newsletter this week for Renee's Boutique, we introduced our mystery tote that is now a part of our collection on our website. And the mystery tote, you can get up to 5 pieces. You just select the size and we do the personal styling for you. It's a great way to pick out something nice for your Valentine at an affordable price. All of the pieces are at one incredible price of $49.95. So that is up on the site now.
I like it. ReneesBoutiqueLLC.com. Crystal, Dr. Leigh-Ann Webb on your spotlight today. She is a rock star. She joined Kelly Jackson and Jamie Schwartz on Women Changing Our World months ago. And I was awesome. Oh my gosh, this person is amazing. In fact, you should come on Women Changing Our World with Kelly and Jamie. But please, for those that don't know Dr. Webb, let us know. I mean, this is one of just like a beacon of positivity in this community for us.
Oh, absolutely. So Dr. Webb, she is incredible, as you all already know if you've had her on her show. She's actually an award-winning doctor. Right. She has a lot of awards, and she recently added to her service awards. She was granted the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award through UVA Health Systems for her service in the community. She's assistant professor at the School of Medicine, and she teaches emergency medicine to the medical students. She's also a part of a medical design thinking team, which teaches medical students how to listen and examine their patients, and she follows them through their first weeks of medical school through their entire career, which I thought was pretty cool. And she recently founded, she's a triple who, by the way.
Right, a triple who, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she's a
Amazing.
triple who.
That means
And,
3 degrees, for those that don't know. 3 degrees from the University of Virginia. 3.
Yes. So her and I actually met in undergrad.
Really?
And we went to church together a few times because Leigh-Ann is actually, Dr. Webb is actually from Appomattox. And in high school, her and I played basketball against each other. So, so we kind of knew each other, and her father is actually a minister that my mom used to go to church with years ago. So everything is coming.
What was Crystal and Dr. Webb like on the hardwood in high school playing basketball?
Oh, we were good now, Jerry. Don't sleep on us.
Were you guys good? Were the governors good?
Yeah, we were both very good guards. Yeah. So, that was fun, and just kind of catching up. And her and I used to talk about that because we would go to church our first and second year, have to catch the bus together and ride. So we had a chance to catch up. And so I'm just excited for her to see her growth in the community, and I'm wowed at her accomplishments and starting this company, the Get Well Company. I'm not sure if they had talked about this on the show months ago, but she founded the Get Well Company in 2019, and this company is a consultation company to assist folks while they're in the hospital, to show empathy, innovation, and collective action to promote equity and she said revolutionize the illness experience. And as I was reading through and asking her, it sounds like it's almost a concierge service for folks that have to be hospitalized, for long periods of time. And she consults with them, has consultations to help them better understand what's going on, as well as providing feedback of what they need from maybe their families and friends to support them while they're there, as well as financial resources. It's almost like a one-stop shop to assist folks who have to be hospitalized long term. And
excuse me, that is brilliant right there. That is brilliant.
It really is. And I really wish that that she had started this company 10 years ago, because it would have made a phenomenal impact for me and my family personally when we went through my dad dealing with esophageal cancer, because that is a cancer that is very aggressive. I know my parents and we had no real dealings with that. So it would have been so helpful to have someone to just call on and to walk us through the steps of the questions and that we should have been asking, and how we could have better supported my parents as they went through that. So hats off to her for starting a phenomenal company, and I wish her great success. I think, I really want the word to get out to our community that this resource is there, because it's really needed in our community.
She's an author.
Yes.
This lady is truly amazing. She is 3 degrees from UVA. She's a businesswoman. She has the book here. I have the book too. The book is amazing.
The book is great. And the illustrations are so awesome. Like last week, I know we talked about representation. And I just think it's phenomenal that she has all of these African American characters throughout the book, and that she worked with the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center as well as Dr. Ebony Hilton. They both co-wrote this, and her sister, I believe, is the person who made the illustrations. That's her sister's work. Micah, this is one of his favorites. Like, we have to read this and 2 other books every night.
Trey, my son too. Trey reads this all the time. We have this on his bookshelf. He reads this all the time. I mean, it is just like so many different sides of the brain she's using here and being successful with it. And, you know, we didn't even mention this. She's the better 7/8 of Dr. Webb, who ran for Congress. I mean, this is a dynamic family right here. And she's the better 7/8 of this team here. And he was on Obama's cabinet and I think is on Biden's cabinet to help with this COVID situation. I mean, this is like a truly power couple here, Crystal.
Oh, they're a phenomenal couple, and super excited to see him become the senior advisor for the COVID initiative that Biden is creating. So he's headed to DC now, and what more can you say? I asked Leigh-Ann, I said, how in the world do you do all of this? Like, what is your secret? And she laughed and literally said, I have no secret, Crystal. She said, I do have a supportive partner and a rock star village. And so I'm just excited for the both of them. They are both just brilliant, young, fiery, excellent folks. And I wish them all the success. They are doing it, you know. They're doing it. But one more thing on that, their book.
Yeah.
The thing I love about this book is called We're Going to Be Okay. If you all do not have a copy of this, I highly recommend it, because it makes the situation of understanding this pandemic in such a simple, clean format that, you know, not just for children, but adults can quickly pick up these wonderful tips to help keep us safe during this pandemic.
Ken, can you remind me the details of where to get the book? Because I think a lot of people should get this book. This book is fantastic. My kid reads this book, guys. It's fantastic.
Well, I believe the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center still has copies. So you can just drop in there.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Crystal Napier, guys, Renee's Boutique LLC.com, Renee's Boutique LLC.com. She's awesome and joins us on Wednesdays. You've highlighted the business. Let's highlight it again. Anywhere you want to go with what you got cooking.
Just really quick, I wanted to put Leigh-Ann's company out there. If you are interested in her services, make sure you go to thegetwellcompany.com. And she has all of her background information up there and some incredible articles that talks more about her company as well as COVID, some great advice out there. For Renee's Boutique LLC, check us out. Just go directly to the site, check out our new mystery tote. We are actually working on a new collection called the Body Type Collection that I'm really excited about. So you'll hear more about that from me in the coming weeks. And as always, Jerry, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your show.
Thank you for joining us, Crystal. You have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Crystal Napier, guys. She's awesome. Renee's Boutique LLC.com. Renee's Boutique LLC.com. And I'm going to thegetwellcompany.com right now. Very nice website, guys. Check out thegetwellcompany.com. Dr. Webb's business website. This is fantastic. I like it. I like the look and feel of this, Dr. Webb. I really, really like this. This was, you brought this to my attention, Crystal. I had no idea about this brand and this business. And Get Well With Us. Dr. Webb, I would love to get you on the show, Dr. Webb. This is a great website. thegetwellcompany.com. All right, couple of items before we close the show. You have the Alex Erpy sizzle reel for us?
Yep.
All right, let's change the rundown of stories we're going to cover here. And why don't we go to the Alex Erpy sizzle reel here in about 10 seconds? And then after this Alex Erpy sizzle reel, and this sizzle reel is from a leader in the Hispanic and Latino community here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, offering his perspective on why COVID-19 has hammered the Hispanic and Latino population at a greater clip than, say, the white population. Okay, he's very honest and frank here. He's a Cubano. So we're going to hear from Alex Erpy here in about 15 seconds. After we hear from Alex Erpy, I'm going to show you what $250,000 will get you from a purchase standpoint in the city of Charlottesville. I'm going to give you a clue. It's about 630 square feet. It's one room. Now it's close to the mall. You have no backyard, and it's 630 square feet. But we'll show it to you on the show. We'll also talk about a new storage facility on Pantops done by a local developer who I think is coming on tomorrow's show. In fact, I just got text message confirmation. Kyle Redinger is coming on tomorrow's show at 12:30. He's the visionary developer behind the new storage development on Pantops that's massive. So we'll talk about that with Kyle on tomorrow's show. We'll also welcome Jason Grigg, an entrepreneur who is the former director of racket sports at ACAC, who has recently launched a pickleball company. Jason Grigg, a pickleball instructional company, will be on tomorrow's program. Let's hear from Alex Erpy first. Judah, are you ready with that sound?
Yep.
All right, give us Erpy in 3, 2, 1.
I've heard it said, let's be real, the lockdowns are in some ways as necessary as they may be for certain places, certain times. I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to say how necessary they are, but in some ways they are a bit of a luxury of the white-collar worker, in a sense of when you're Hispanic and you're working, a lot of Latinos, we work in industries, restaurants, construction, landscaping, all essential industries. Latinos work in essential industries that don't get shut down. So you're still going to work. And if you're a Latino business owner, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, I think I'll just close and I'll work landscaping virtually for the next 6 months. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to turn your restaurant virtual for 6 months or, contact your clients that you were doing homework for and luxury work for to say, well, now I'm going to just do everything almost the same, but not quite. You don't have that luxury. You have to provide for your family. You're doing the work. And that obviously puts you into more susceptible situations than if you're able to, and I say this as someone in a white collar industry, I can come to an office that is just my family and meet everyone I need to meet by Zoom. If I was in a different industry, that would not be possible. And so I recognize the luxury that I have in being able to do that and how in some ways that protects me from possible exposure, because I'm meeting clients in a way that's not possible if I wasn't delivering a financial service, if I actually had to deliver a product or a meal or something that required me to do physical work for someone, to make their home a better place, to make it a more beautiful home. And a lot of Latinos, I think, work in those essential industries that don't have the luxury of saying, well, I'm just going to do it virtual for a year. And sometimes I think we forget that, and we sit there and say, well, why do Latinos have so much more trouble? And I think the same could be said for a lot of the African American population. But why do Latinos have such higher rates of COVID? Well, it's not like we have a Latino COVID gene that makes them more susceptible. It's a combination, I think, of family. I mean, Italy had this struggle, I think, at the beginning of the pandemic too, where you have 3 generations in one household, which is common. And then I think where we work. And so to keep that in mind and saying, how can we, when we're making policy, but also as individuals buying from businesses, how can we make sure that if Latinos are out there taking these risks to make their families and their businesses survive, how can we make sure that it's worth the risk? How can we make sure they're already taking that risk? How can we make sure that their business then grows? So they're not taking this risk needlessly or not being able to provide for their families while taking that risk.
That is phenomenal. Good stuff right there from Alex Erpy. He joins us on Tuesdays. Alex Erpy does. on the I Love CVille show. His show, presented by Emergent Financial Services, is called Today y Mañana. He co-hosts the show with Xavier, his father. His father's name is Xavier. It's a multi-generational look on the Hispanic and Latino community in Charlottesville and Central Virginia through the eyes of small business owners that work in financial services and sit across the table from folks from all walks of life. Restaurant owners, landscapers, folks that are in a multi-generational Hispanic business, folks that are in a business that's 1 week old. And they relay those stories in a 1 hour format on Thursdays at 10:15. A format that champions the Hispanic and Latino community in this area. It's a fantastic show. It's tomorrow at 10:15 in the morning, and I very much encourage you to watch that show. It's presented by Emergent Financial Services. A couple of items in the notebook I want to get out before we get off the air today. Tomorrow we'll have Kyle Redinger on the show. Kyle is the developer. He's tried a handful of developments. He tried a development down 5th Street Extended, right in Albemarle County. He's the guy behind the storage unit on Pantops that is locally owned. It's called Storage Sense. Storage Sense offers 72,000 square feet of temperature-controlled and climate-controlled storage space across 658 storage units. 658 individual storage units. The visionary behind this project on the show at 12:30 tomorrow, along with Jason Grigg. You may know him from ACAC. He was the one-time director of racket sports at ACAC. He's now launched his own company with a focus on pickleball, the fastest growing sport in America, literally, statistically backed. The fastest growing sport in America is a sport called pickleball. I personally play it, and it is an addiction. This entrepreneur is going to join us on the program tomorrow as well. UVA plays Virginia Tech on Saturday. The Wahoos are 8 in the country at 11-2 overall. Virginia Tech is 20 in the country at 11-3 on the season. The Hokies just suspended indefinitely its second best player on a gun charge, on a DUI charge. The Hokies literally get significantly less ammunition, pun intended, with the suspension of this player for a gun charge and a DUI charge. Still, this is a good matchup for Tony Bennett's ball club. Saturday, the Wahoos and the Hokies, 8 versus 20. And show the updated standings, J-Dubs, ACC standings. If Virginia beats Virginia Tech and they're heavily favored to beat the Hokies, this puts tremendous separation between UVA and Virginia Tech in the ACC standings. And it may create a 2-horse race for the regular season championship between Florida State and Tony Bennett's bunch. It's a big-time matchup on Saturday. I'm going to close on this. I want to show you what $250,000 can get you in the city of Charlottesville. Can you put the listing on screen, J-Dubs? This listing is on right down the road from the Macklin building in the I Love CVille studio. It's a condo in the High Street condo complex, I guess if you may. I've been in this little condo area. There's not many in there. They're very, very nice. They are very, very nice. I've had friends that lived here. I've spent late nights here. They're very, very nice. This particular unit at 820 High Street, literally like a block and a half, 2 blocks from our studio, this particular unit is 1 bedroom and 1 bath. It's a studio. And this studio is 653 total square feet. The price per square foot is $383. $383 price per square foot for this studio apartment that you can walk to anything downtown. $250,000 asking price. Days on market, 20. Only 20 days on market for 820 High Street, unit number 4. Why do I bring up this unit to you? A $250,000 asking price for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath studio that's 653 square feet. The reason I bring this up to you is because on this very network, in a public-private partnership with the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, we will host a 12-hour telethon on Friday, February 12th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Keith Smith will be in the house, and in a 12-hour period of time, we will, at bare minimum, try to raise $150,000 so the land trust, the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, can purchase a piece of dirt, a piece of property on 10th Street in the heart of Charlottesville to build 5 affordable housing units, five units of affordable housing. If we can hit $300,000 on the 12th of February from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., then the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust can buy 2 pieces of property, the other one on the intersection of Monticello and Carlton. So 2 pieces of property, if we can hit $300,000 in this 12-hour telethon, and those 2 pieces of property would yield 11 units of affordable housing. All of those units of affordable housing are considerably larger than this $250,000 asking price on High Street that I just showed you. Larger in footprint, they are net zero, and they're brand new. So 11 units at an asking price around, what was it, 200, 215, Keith? Is that about right? If we can hit 300,000 on this 12-hour telethon on the 12th of February, a Friday, on the I Love CVille network. It's to try to make it tangible. $150,000 is 3,000 people giving $50. $300,000 is 6,000 people giving $50. Never in the history of Charlottesville have we crowdsourced the purchase of land to build affordable housing. And we have good news. I found out today from our good friend Susan Steinmart that a car is in the mix. A car is in the mix. It's a donation. It's a 2005 Mazda sedan 4-door hatchback with a Kelly Blue Book value of $3,500. Donated by word of mouth auto. So we'll have a car in the mix that's been donated to this telethon that we're going to figure out a way to get into the hands of someone in the community for contributing to this telethon in some capacity. Okay? Unbelievable that there's a car that someone's going to get for participating in this telethon on the 12th of February. All right. That's all she wrote for me. Good show. Sean, pickleball is a phenomenal sport. What's up, Sean? Pickleball is I think you would love it, Sean. Pickleball is a mix of tennis, ping pong. If tennis and ping pong had a baby, you would get pickleball. That's what it is. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely fantastic. I think you would really enjoy it, Sean Napier. All right, I got to get out of here. Tomorrow, Kyle Redinger and Jason Grigg. Friday, we are efforting Pete Snyder, who's making a run for governor, trading emails right now with the candidate. James Watson says, Old Dominion Bookstore downtown was providing free copies of Dr. Webb's book. They still may be. Thank you, James Watson, for that tip. Olivia Branch says, we need to reimagine our future in Charlottesville. Very well said, Olivia Branch. We do need to reimagine our future. Thank you for joining us on the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Have a good Wednesday afternoon. I gave you the names for tomorrow, right, J-Dubs?
Yeah.